Okay, you are seeing this live and in real time right now at the White House. President Trump meeting with faith leaders for a luncheon. This comes, of course, after a meeting with the head of NATO where he put Russia on notice. They put a new agreement in place to manufacture and sell weapons to NATO to support Ukraine in its fight against Russia. President Trump, Secretary General Mark Rutte, hope that and a 100% tariff threat for Russia are enough to force Mr. Putin to come to the negotiating table and end the war. Here's President Trump announcing that agreement a short time ago.
We've made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money, and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it, and we feel strongly about it, too.
So let's talk about this with CBS News reporter Olivia Rinaldi. She's live at the White House right now. How confident is the White House at this point that doing this, sending the Patriot missiles to NATO for potential use, Russia and Ukraine, that this will bring an end to the war?
Well, Reed, it's a really good question because it does signal that the White House at least is saying that they need to have something that would bring Russia to the table that comes in the form of those tariffs, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but also that this new weapons package is desperately needed for those Ukrainians, which keep being bombarded by the Russians. It's at this point not really a matter of if they know it's going to end the war, but they see what the dire circumstances are on the ground, and the president is changing his tune about helping the Ukrainians. Remember, he had said previously that there would be no more military aid to Ukraine. Now all of a sudden he's here at the White House with the NATO Secretary General announcing a new weapons package that essentially he would be sending to NATO, and then European countries within NATO would pay for them and send them to Ukraine. So kind of a convoluted way to go about this, but essentially protects Trump politically here at home from his promise of sending no more aid, military aid to Ukraine, but also providing them with the weapons they desperately need as they continue to be bombarded by Russian missiles.
Yeah, I listened in to what he had to say, and I thought it was fascinating because today really seemed to mark sort of codifying a frustration with Vladimir Putin. You know, the president mentioned talking to Putin, feeling like he had a great conversation, and then even saying at night he goes home, speaking to the First Lady of the United States, saying had a great conversation with Mr. Putin, and she would answer him back saying, well, they just dropped bombs. Did you get a sense of frustration this time for the first time?
Well, Reed, it's kind of been culminating over the last several weeks. Remember, at the beginning of June, the president saying he's frustrated with Putin. He's not liking what he's seeing on the ground with the amount of death and destruction that has been going on. And really, this has been a swelling frustration that has kind of hit its pinnacle today with the president saying that not only would he be sending more military weapons to Ukraine, but also tariffs on Russia. Now, those tariffs would go into place. The president says they'd be 100% secondary tariffs on Russia that would go into place in 50 days. That's on September 1st. And that is if Russia does not commit to peace with Ukraine, if that doesn't happen by then. By all indications, we have not seen any efforts by the Russians to, one, tamp down on the missile strikes, but two, get to the table with the Ukrainians. We know that their goal has been more territory, keeping the territory they have and getting more territory from Ukraine before getting back to the negotiating table. So the president announced today there would be 100% secondary tariffs on September 1st. This is also running concurrently with what we're seeing out of the U.S. Senate, which is a legislative bill on sanctions for Russia, which I should mention has 85 co-sponsors, bipartisan co-sponsors. It's really difficult to find anything in Washington these days that people unanimously agree on in Congress, but it seems like at this point it would be more sanctions on Russia. The president said he doesn't quite feel like he needs that 500% tariff on countries that import Russian uranium, gas, and oil, but it's certainly on the table if he does need it. And actually, Senator Thune, the majority leader of the Republicans in the Senate, will be here at the White House later today to talk about that sanctions bill on top of the secondary tariffs that the president had talked about earlier today. So a lot of moving pieces here, but to your question, yes, this is the culmination of a lot of frustration from this president toward Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Wearing thin, it seems. Okay, so we know that the president has a big day, Mr. Ruta, Mr. Thune, but in between that is what's happening right now behind you. The president speaking with faith leaders. Let's get your reaction to this. Let's play this a little bit as he spoke about some of those tariff deals.
But they said, well, when is he going to start making deals? The next time we could say, just no, every time he sends out a document that you have to pay 35% or 25%. Or 50%, or in one case 100%. Those deals, you can't beat those deals, but we're still willing to talk. And they all, literally every country wants to make a deal.
Okay, so the president says, using his words, every country wants to make a deal, but we're not hearing about a lot of deals announced. You almost feel like from the White House, there's a line at the door. And yet, when you look at the scorecard, it's not very big.
No, in fact, Reed, it's been 2 deals that this White House says they've been able to make. One with the United Kingdom and the second with Vietnam, though the framework about that Vietnam deal, we're still waiting for more details about that specifically. We know there were non-tariff barriers they say they would lift, but a lot scant on the details besides that. The White House says that with sending these letters, these countries will be lining exactly at the door to make a deal with the United States. It's meant to do that. It's meant to apply that pressure to those countries, saying, here's what you're going to face on August 1st. But Reed, we have not seen any tangible deal has been made since those letters started going out last week. Of course, economic deals take time. They take a lot of negotiation. They take a lot from Trump's trade representatives and Secretary Bessent to go in and negotiate. But as far as we've seen, there hasn't been that immediate reaction that the president has wanted. But August 1st, still coming fast and furious in a couple of weeks. We'll have to see what happens between then, if any economic deals could be made.
Talking about things, Ukraine, Russia, trade, tariffs, that the president thought he could get done quickly, and he's learning otherwise. Olivia Rinaldi, thank you so much. We appreciate you.